Today I'll be talking about probably the most common question that comes up after a car accident occurs in the state of Georgia. And that question is, what is my personal injury case worth if I've been injured in a car accident? And determining the value of your case isn't always straightforward because every single accident and personal injury claim is going to be different in one slight way or another. There are just so many factors that come into play in a personal injury case. For example, compare two very similar car crashes where you have nearly identical rear-end collisions. Let's say that the property damage or the damage to the rear of both cars is almost exactly the same, and the injuries are almost exactly the same in both instances. But let's say for one person, they were taken to the hospital by an ambulance, and then the other person in the second accident went home on their own, didn't go to the doctor for maybe a few weeks later. Well, under those nearly identical facts, it's likely that the value of the first instance might be higher. Why is that? Well, that's because an insurance company might view the second matter differently. They might say that they're invoking what they refer to as a gap in treatment reduction in value. Now, that's an example where it's of utmost importance to talk to your personal injury lawyer immediately after an accident. Our law firm has been handling personal injury cases for 40 years, and we've seen every single type of argument that an insurance company can try and come up with. And unless you have an experienced lawyer on your side to level the playing field, this insurance adjuster can just derail your case very quickly. So the first and most important variable for case value is whether or not you have secured the services of a lawyer and one that's highly experienced in the handling of personal injury cases. Every single study that's been done is going to show that the value of an auto accident case is just greatly enhanced when handled by an experienced lawyer. Okay, so let's look at other common factors that impact the value of a car accident case in Georgia. So first, let's start off with medical expenses. Your medical costs are typically a really big factor in valuing your case. This is going to include ambulance bills, hospital stays, doctor visits, surgeries, physical therapy, chiropractor, medications, on and on. And it's crucial to consider future medical expenses. If your injuries require long-term care or ongoing treatment, you're going to be entitled to compensation for all of those future costs. So the next factor to consider in a case is the value of lost wages. If your injuries cause you to miss work, you can recover compensation for the wages that you've already lost, as well as any future income that you're unable to obtain if you lost future work. And you might have had to take a lower paying job. All of those are compensable. So this is especially important in cases involving severe injuries that are gonna impact your long-term earning potential. So we also consider pain and suffering and emotional distress. And while medical bills and lost wages are tangible losses, pain and suffering and emotional distress or anguish, those are referred to as general damages. And they're more subjective, but they still play a very significant role in calculating your overall damages. And the Georgia legislature has created statutes and laws that require that these damages must be paid by the at-fault party and their insurance company. So this is another area where your lawyer can make a vast difference for you, from handling thousands of personal injury claims with just about every single kind of fact pattern and injury you can imagine. We have a very keen understanding of general damages and how pain and suffering can be compensated for, the severity of your injuries, how they've impacted your daily life, and whether they're expected to lead to long-term pain or emotional issues. They're all factors in this calculation. Okay, so another key consideration is property damage. In most car accidents, your vehicle is going to be damaged or could be considered even a total loss. So you can recover all the cost of these repairs, diminished value, or you would get the fair market value of your car if it's beyond repair. Even the cost of a rental car would be covered. Beyond that, beyond some of these factors I mentioned earlier, another factor that can heavily influence your case is that of liability. Okay, so Georgia follows what's called a comparative negligence rule, which means that the amount of compensation that you receive could be reduced if you're found to be partially at fault in an accident. I'll give you an example. If you're deemed to be 20% at fault, your compensation could then be reduced by 20%. And under that law, if you're found, say by a jury, to be more than 50%, then you might not be entitled to recover anything at all. So that's why it's just essential to work with an attorney who can gather all the right evidence that will support your case and then minimize any claims that you would be at fault. Another factor of case value is to consider insurance policy limits. In some cases, the amount you recover can be capped by the at-fault party's insurance policy limits. So Georgia's liability limits are only $25,000. But an experienced lawyer can help you then identify other possible coverage, maybe uninsured motorist coverage or medical payments coverage, or even all of the what's called stackable insurance coverages that might be available. So in summary, no two auto accident cases in Georgia are going to be exactly the same in every single aspect. The value of your case is what your personal injury case is going to be worth, and just depends on the specifics of your accident. It depends on the extent of your injuries and then how they've affected your life, how much available insurance coverage there is. So feel free to give us a call. A large part of our practice is to provide a free consultation to anyone that was injured in a car accident, and then we can dive into the details and then give you an idea of what your personal injury case may be worth.